Hi, it's Steve Morrison here, and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are listening from. Welcome back to another episode of the special guest on Chat with Chaps. And today we welcome none other than the Podfather himself, Mr. Achtung Millwall, Mr. Nick Hart. Nick, how you doing, mate?
This is Chat with Chaps. They told me it was Wall Talk. Who are you? Good to
I'm a
be
better
here.
looking
Good.
version of Max.
Good to be here, Chris. Well done with what you're doing with this show, mate. A lead in with Morrow introducing your show is worth having, mate. Well done. You're really going well. I'm admiring what you're doing on this.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Learning from the best. We probably need to stop exchanging pleasantries, but certainly learning from the best and looking to and thank you as well to yourself for some of the help you gave me over the summer as I was thinking
You're
about
welcome, mate.
what on
You're
earth
welcome.
I was going to do. So, but as I say, thank you for coming on the show. We are recording this the Sunday after the one and only first game of the season, Millwall 2, Watford 3. First of all, before we talk a bit about that and get your thoughts on that, what a touching tribute it was yesterday for Matty Sarkic and his family.
Yeah, terrific, wasn't it? We do this kind of thing very well. Unfortunately, we seem to be having a lot of practice doing it, which is, which is the other side of the coin. But no, I mean, it was a wonderful tribute. I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, Chris, Matty's dad, Bojan Sarkic, posted his thanks and some really nice messages to the squad, the fans, and the management of the club. So clear, and also big hats off to the Watford support. They produced a banner. I couldn't see it where I sit. I can't see the away fans. But to do that is a magnificent gesture. So yeah, no, 100%. As I've said, we said many times, we do this kind of thing very, very well, which makes me very proud of our club and our support and all that. But as for the game, oh dear, it was a bit of a mix, wasn't it? It was a cocktail. I suppose I don't know how you feel, Chris, but I mean, having mellowed over, I had a bit of the hump when I got home yesterday because it felt like we'd thrown a situation away there yesterday. Again, the bit like Bristol last year, we seemed to have had a big occasion on our hands, and somehow we didn't quite step up to the plate. But having sat down, looked at the highlights, and re-listened to what I did in the Achtung show last night, we had a healthy measure of sheer bad luck. I mean, on another day, Honeyman scores that. We get a penalty. That was a clear penalty. I thought in real time it was a penalty on Watmore that created the chance for Honeyman to hit the post and then have a chance cleared off the line from the rebound. Another day that goes in, and I generally didn't think Watford had much in them. I don't know if I'm being unkind on them, So if we'd have got a goal up, we probably would have pressed on and taken all 3 points. The opening goal from the corner, blimey, I don't want to slaughter Lucas Jensen. It's the first time I've seen him, and clearly there's a whole world of sports psychology knocking around out there, isn't there? He made an error in the Southampton friendly.
Yeah.
Whether that's played on his mind, big occasion, big tribute to a clearly much loved goalkeeper. That's where he wouldn't be here but for all of that before the game yesterday. Now, whether that's stuck in his head, maybe, because he looked like a little lost lamb that's filling the river on that corner. He's running around, waving his hands in the air, and that's gone straight in. So that's just poor. Second goal, there was a free kick, wasn't it? That was a decent strike. I don't think you can really blame him. I've seen people knocking him online. Apparently, people had a go at him in the crowd yesterday. I didn't know where I was, but I thought that's harsh because that was just a really, really well struck free kick. He's on target, and many goalkeepers would have been beaten by that. So,
Agreed.
That was harsh. As for the winner, more bad luck. A challenge and a kind of a lucky flighted cross falls in the path of the forward and who nods it home. But whether Jensen will, in a cold light of day, feel that he should have come out with more physicality and dealt with that situation, I think probably I think probably a 6'5" Danish giant, you expect a bit more thwack in that situation, Chris. You know, you've got to put your fist behind a ball and take whatever's in your way with you. So I think there's a few areas where Lucas Jensen will feel that he should have done a lot better. That said, you know, we didn't get many. We hit the post twice, didn't we? Didn't get a penalty. And I thought we showed real character with the introduction of Idemo Marku. Pace, you know, pace kills you. And, you know, the introduction of Idemo really changed it. I thought we showed really good character to drag ourselves back into a game where 2-0, I thought we looked a bit like we're out of it, out on our feet, really. So to get back to 2 each, thanks to his and good finishing by Watmore, I thought played very well yesterday.
Great
2
game.
goals.
90 minutes too, Nick, as well, which for...
Yeah.
He seemed fitter and leaner, and he obviously had a new haircut, which changes everything, doesn't it?
Someone said he had a Style Council haircut. I don't know if that Paul Weller 1983 haircut. I'd have to. I haven't seen him that close range, Chris. But yeah, no, he looked fit, strong, dynamic, hungry, everything you want, and it looks like they've worked with Watmore. I thought Saville looked, you know, he's not exactly carrying much spare timber already, but it looks like he looked leaner, and so clearly some work has gone in, you know, at the training ground, in the gym. So fair play to those two players. It was by far Duncan Watmore's best performance in a Millwall shirt since he's come to us, but I think the inspiration, which is what we lacked for large chunks of the game yesterday, came from Idemo, and his willingness to take the ball and run at players, Chris. You know, it causes panic. These weren't very good defenders we're up against yesterday. So when you've got a talented boy like him coming at you with pace and power and intent, you know, it causes mayhem. So there's a real sense that we let it go, though. I think that, you know, I think it was, as I say, measure of bad luck, measure of errors, and probably a sense that we should have done a lot better yesterday. I think the whole side will take that off the pitch. How did you see it? Did you see the same? Did you just go with that? Is that fair?
I do, mate. I do think it's fair. I think, like you, it's why I do my sort of post-match on a Sunday, because I kind of need the time to reflect and calm down a little bit and take the raw emotion out of it. I think there was some very basic errors made from various players. Lucas Jensen, the main culprit, but I do think if you go back and analyse some of the goals... The first goal, we shouldn't even be a corner, by the way, because there's a shot.
Don't remember that. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Really, it shouldn't even go to a corner. And I always try to look at the sort of phase just before. You then look at the free kick, and they were good in the transition, Watford. You know, they were good. Their number 8 was an excellent player, the one who scored the free kick, but he picks the ball up in a transition, and Romain Esse leaves Leonard 2-on-1. So Leonard's got no choice but to bring the man down, which causes the free kick. So there's just... And then Cooper plays the lad onside for the third goal. So absolutely agree that Jensen, first goal, as Neil Harris quoted, shouldn't be in under-12s football, you know, let alone a professional game.
That's what he said in public. I wonder what he said in private.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly. But I, you know, and I don't necessarily know how everyone else sees this, but whilst I do put a big chunk of blame on Lucas Jensen, I also think it's really important to understand the occasion yesterday. You know, it must have been for him to come in knowing that ultimately he's only there because some poor lad's lost his life. His family are watching at the side. He's already made a cock up in the last game, to your point. The nerves, because you don't just become a bad goalkeeper overnight. And every single person I spoke to about Lucas Jensen said he was this big, commanding goalkeeper. He'd come for everything. I mean, he didn't come for anything yesterday. Not a single cross. So I think we just need to put that down to a bad game, and I think hopefully he gets through it. We do have a habit of signing goalkeepers, and you know, this is not to discredit Matty, because Matty went on to be an excellent goalkeeper for us under Neil Harris. But if you remember, first couple of games, he had a dodgy start.
I wasn't convinced at all about him, Chris, at first.
So I just think we need to kind of isolate that. But when it's all said and done, I think we deserve to come away from that game with at least a point, and I think we're unlucky. I thought we played some really good stuff in the second half. Contrary to that, I thought we played some awful stuff in the first half.
I thought we were poor first half.
We cannot just lump the ball up to Bradshaw with 2 6'4" centre halves. It's just never going to work. And we didn't play enough football in the first half. Second half was as good attacking wise. We created chances. We had lots of possession. I think you saw glimpses of a slightly more progressive style of play in the second half.
Yeah, agreed.
Which led to when's the last time we scored 2 goals from open play?
Oh wow! I'd have to look at the score list. I mean, it'd be a while back. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember it happening very often. I agree. I mean, Lucas Jensen. You make a good point. I was going to make that point that when Sarkic, much loved by the end, it was only one season, but he had a wobbly start. Let's say that. I think. Just to go back to Jensen for a moment, I think you've got the weight of the occasion. You're right. You've got family watching. You've got this kind of sense that you're replacing clearly a much loved goalkeeper. I think also it's a big step up. He's come from Lincoln. I imagine Danish football before that. You're in a pretty much a bear pit environment at the Den. It takes a big personality to step up. Now I believe from everything I've read, that Lucas has that personality to step up and start commanding his area. But look at who you're commanding in front of you. You're commanding serious level personalities like, established players like Jake Cooper and Sean Hutchinson, Ryan Leonard, and even Joe Bryan, Larsay Larry, as I call him. These are players that have been there a while and, they're serious. He will feel himself the junior partner. Despite his physical size, he's the junior partner in that little gathering. So he's got to sort that. That's got to be sorted out. If there's something that needs to be done, he's got to deal with it, and he's got to make his presence felt. I don't want to slaughter him because it was a poor start, but he wasn't the only poor player. Yes, there were others that probably should have done more. I think Romain Esse.
I was going to ask you about him.
I think he's discovering that when you identify yourself as the talent, all the best players at the top table have to work their way out of those crowded situations. Watford had players in front of him because they've read the same articles online. They know he's an England under-20 international. So you've got to come up with the wit and the imagination to play your way out of that. That's his next level. And I think he probably found out a little bit that the Championship is a tough place to take your talent because people try and squelch it, and they did squelch him. Really, I thought he was very ineffective. Someone like Idemo comes in with pace and power, and there's very few players have an answer to that. Whereas I also think Esse probably was misplaced on the field. He'd probably got to get used to playing wider than maybe he'd ideally like to. There we are. Big step up for these players. So. Yeah, bad luck. Unfortunately, there's no points for bad luck, Chris. That's the problem.
No. It evens itself out, though, didn't it, overall in the season?
So they say. This is one of those great sayings that you console yourself with when you come away with no points when you probably should have had one. And on another day, 3 points because we're hitting the post twice and we should have had a penalty. So... Anyway, like I say, no bad luck table, unfortunately. And that's got to be a quick lesson learned because, we've had this conversation on Achtung that you look through that division now, and it's quite hard to see the obvious relegation sides. There are no Rotherhams, there's no Burton Albions we've had in the table, no Charltons, where you say, well, they're flimsy, they're going to go down. Many would put us in that category. So many have. Should be an inspiration to the side. I'm hoping that Neil Harris will use that to fire them up. I mean, I wouldn't question their collective spirit. So we did fight back to 2 each, and let it go at the end with a poor goal in the end. But overall, no, it was a lesson learned. I think hopefully a lesson learned yesterday.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think the second half, I know we well, technically we drew the second half because we 2-2. If you look just isolate second half, but it was quite an exciting match to watch, wasn't it? The second half, it was.
If you was a neutral, you'd have said there was. As I came into the ground yesterday, Chris, there was a group of like Midwestern-looking Americans coming in with me, just in front. Looking, and the lady was saying, "We gotta go find our seats in here." I put a right stupid voice to do that. Their accent wasn't that bad. Any American listeners, I something off the stage, and we gotta go in here and find ourselves a seat.
Looky here.
They weren't like that. But I don't know what I've lost the point of what I was saying there. But neutrals. I'm sure they were entertained. They would have seen and heard. A good example of South East London culture yesterday. So hopefully that's what they came there for and they got it. But no, I think the neutral would have found it an exciting game. We're not neutral, so I think we only look for the downside of it.
Yeah.
And if you're listening for that family, you didn't sound like that to me at all.
Unsubscribe.
Looky here.
No, Nick, I agree. I think it's just, as you said, I still believe Watford are going to be one of the sides in the bottom half, and these are the teams we have to beat. And we were uncharacteristically, we had a soft underbelly yesterday, and that's very uncharacteristic of a Millwall Neil Harris side. And that's the concern. And then the positive, as you say, is we scored 2 goals, open play at the Den. That's normally enough. So hopefully it's a one-off, as a dollop of bad luck in there, and we move on to Tuesday's Carabao Cup game and then win.
Decent crowd there, Chris, yesterday. Just to before we close out, 16,456, held by a big. Because I can't normally see the away end, but they had the lower tier open, which is great to see increasingly. But 16,500, we've got used to big crowds now. Once upon a time, that would have been the game of the season level crowd, not that long ago either. So, hats off to the club management for. I know they got a bit of stick for this bag drop, which I think they probably hands are tied to some extent with this need to drop off your bags before you go into the stadium. But yeah, a good crowd, and they cleaned off all the bird crap off my seat. That's pretty good as well.
Oh, well, that's good.
Hats off to the management. I'm with the new regime.
If we're talking about that, I mean, what I would say is, and this isn't going to change, but the beer yesterday was ropey, really ropey. The Spitfire.
Is it Hurleyman's? I mean, I don't drive, so I was driving yesterday, so I'm not on the drink. So is it Hurleyman's? What kind of lager they got there?
Yeah, so they do. They've got a couple of e-bars that do Guinness, and I think it's Hurleyman's, and then the main one is Spitfire. Which, to be fair, last season it wasn't so bad, but yesterday it wasn't. I don't know. It was
maybe it was off. I don't mind Spitfire. Spitfire's all right.
Well, normally it's all right. Yeah, but nonetheless, that's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. But yes, I think one thing I just want to touch on with you, which is related to yesterday, is, and you can hear it every time Neil Harris does an interview, he is crying out for reinforcements, right?
Rightly so. Yeah,
exactly. But it's a balancing act of not discrediting the current group, but also ensuring that everyone's hearing the message loud and clear that we do need more. What's your view on that? Where do you think we need to improve, and how has yesterday changed or not changed your mind?
Oh, it hasn't changed my mind. I mean, it was notable. I mean, the quality on display yesterday was their number 8, which I can't pronounce it. Chatwithchapz, the scorer of the free kick. Great player. So quality, that will always make a big difference. Our equivalent to quality was when Idemo came in. He picked the ball up. He made things happen. He ran at the players. So pace. We do look slow. Graham, who I was talking to yesterday, made the point about how, much as we love our back line, they do look like they are at the latter stages. It's like sending me out there, Chris, to try and get involved in a sprint, the pace is gone, mate, So we do need some pace. We need someone that can do something unusual. And Idemo fulfilled that yesterday by his willingness to run at players and go past them. A couple of moments really lift you off your seat when you watch that happening.
It's exciting, isn't it, Nick?
Exciting, and that's what you want. And I mean that was, I suppose, Roman's role yesterday, but he found it difficult. His day will come another day. But no, we need pace. We need skill. Problem, of course, Chris, is it costs money. And I'm going to guess we'll find the best skill and with pace and power as a kind of a cast off from a Premier League side, one of their season-long loans. I'm hoping that's what we're going to see soon. But we also need some presence in the box. We've got Langstaff, we've got Tom Bradshaw, dear old Tom, and we've got Kevin Nisbet. I didn't think looked that bad in his brief little cameo we saw.
Put himself about a bit more than he did last year, didn't he, Nick?
I think he's had a bit of a summertime. He's probably got to think hard about where he's going to go. If he can't make it at Millwall, he's going to be on the train going back up to Hibs, or some place like it. Fine, but that will be his level. But all of those three strikers, just going back to the point I want to make, they're all begging for a cloned. One of the boys from Brazil, one of the Steve Morrison clone next to them, or someone like it. A Kiefer Moore clone, or someone like that will get in amongst it and get knockdowns for those three. Take your pick from any of them. I'm hoping Langstaff will turn into the goal machine, but he does need someone to do that kind of battering ram role, the Paul Moody role from old, for the long balls. We do seem to favour the long ball forwards. We're aiming at Tom Bradshaw. You made that point already. And it's not fair on him, He does a great job of doing his best, but we need someone with more. We need a younger version of Matt Smith, or someone that we can aim at and will stand his ground and knock it down and provide aerial presence, and we don't have that. A few times yesterday, I remember balls going into the box, no one there. Decent looking crosses, which is a rarity. We need chance creation, but we need a man on the end of it that's going to create some havoc. I don't know where that's going to come from. I don't have any suggestions. I do admire shows where people come and start quoting half a dozen players I've never heard of from far-flung clubs, and so they make great fits, because I can never do that. I don't know, but we do need that kind of physicality up front. We've needed it, in fairness, for a long time, and struggled really since the end of Matt Smith. I suppose was near it, but he was at the end. Other than that, he's going back to Morrison, and that's the last time we've had really the classic target man striker, which I think is what Neil Harris will favour.
Yeah,
and I like it. I have my. I know we've got to play a modern style, but I do like a big centre forward, because they just cause problems all of their own. And where we're going to find that, I don't know. But that's what we need. I'm hoping that's what the scouts, the Gallen team, recruitment are doing, looking for. Because if we don't find it, we're going to struggle to score goals, like we did yesterday.
Yeah, it's that first half for me. Second half we got the ball down and we played more football, and I felt that the need for that target man, maybe not so much, and that the proof was in the pudding. We scored 2 goals and we hit the post and whatever. But having said that, in the first half, if you're going to play that style, you can't do that with Tom Bradshaw up against 2 6'4" centre halves. So what it's worth, I don't think their 2 centre halves were all that. They were missing their main.
They look lumbering. They look
in
slow.
Wesley Hoyt.
We didn't give them the problems, did we?
So, but we need a target. I mean, if Kiefer Moore could clone himself, I think there'd be a list of about 10 clubs that would gladly take him. But someone like him, someone like Ugbo that's just gone Sheffield Wednesday, he would have been a good acquisition. I don't, obviously based on no knowledge, but we've been caught in Lyndon Dykes for some time, and I just wonder, is he the progressive player that would get you excited as a signing? No. But would he be an effective target, battering ram, a bit of a throwback that could work in the sort of style and system that we have? Possibly. So it's if you put more creative players around someone like that, a focal point, then who knows? But thankfully, Nick, we've got, what I'm looking at now, about 19 days, I think.
Of the transfer window.
So
it's an area we've got to be looking. We've got to be looking in those 2 areas really. I mean, I think in fairness, as much as the back line is maybe aged, maybe the midfield, I didn't think we're too bad there, but I think we do need something up front. If I was to choose one area, it would be a forward.
Yeah.
Don't know who, don't know where, don't know what, but yeah, we need a big centre forward of some sort. Because we're going to lump the ball forwards a lot, it seems. So
Yeah.
let's have someone built for the role. Whether that's Lyndon Dykes, I don't know. Maybe anyone 6'2" plus that can stand his ground and look to knock it down to one of our nippier, Langstaff, Bradshaw, Ordnance-Bett. In fairness, I think they're all much of the similar kind of players, but they do need their main man there, and that's what we're lacking. So
Agreed.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Agreed, Nick. Agreed. And I'm going to segue now to change tact a little bit rather than just talking about yesterday. I do want to talk a little bit about you and your podcasting journey and that kind of thing, if that's all right, mate.
Yeah, go for it.
And if my math serves me well, it all started for you 52 years ago.
52
in
years.
1972, March the 31st. I think I've got that right.
March the 30th. It was some mates. I was brought up in. I was born in Bermondsey, but was brought up in Mottingham, near Bromley. Many listeners will know that area. And I was at school, junior school, primary school, and this was the season where Millwall were going quite well. It was a famous season. We were on a push towards promotion to what was then the first division. And one of my mates in class, I used to love football, but I wouldn't have called myself a Millwall fan. I'd never been. I didn't really know much about it. But he said, "Shall we go football?" I was only, how old would I have been? 11. It's a different world, Chris, when 11-year-olds sitting in class say, "Shall we go to football?" And I said, "Yes." "Can I go to football, Mum?" "Yes." So off we went by train, a group of 11-year-olds across London from Elmstead Wood Station to New Cross. Walked across what is now called Fordham Park and was then still the remnants of back-to-back bomb blitz-strewn streets. Walked through like housing estate and along the legendary route that is called Coldblow Lane, underneath the arches that you had dripping water through the railway arches. Three or four 11-year-old kids going there on their own, and paid our money to get in, and I was at the Coldblow Lane end, and I was probably smitten there and then. Really, the whole I love football. Watched it on telly. Used to watch Manchester United and the big European games, Ajax and all that kind of thing. But to actually go to a game was a different thing entirely. And I remember walking into the Coldblow Lane inn, because that's where that's where all the singing goes on. So that's where we went, and right down the front. And the greenness of the pitch struck me. I remember that. The Millwall in all in their white, and it was a big crowd playing Portsmouth. We were on a roll towards promotion, and I remember Barry Bridges scored the goal right in front of us, banged it in the net from close range. It was 1-0 win, and the place just seemed to explode. I mean, the noise was incredible. I'd never heard anything like it, and so yeah, there are some 11-year-old mates in the middle of the depths of London.
I don't know if you'd be doing that these days, would you, mate?
Well, I often ask myself, would you anyone listening to this show, would you let your kids do what you did yourself? No, you wouldn't. It's hypocritical, really, because you would not send your kids off on with a bunch of mates on a journey across London to a football match. I mean, you could do stuff back then that was you could just go up to a game, you pay on the gate and walk in. Whereas now you've got to get a ticket. It's much more expensive comparatively. You need a lot more planning, and they probably wouldn't let you in the first place. A group of kids on their own turned up. You wouldn't make it inside the ground. So, but anyway, we did make it inside the ground. We did see the game, and from that moment on, I was a Millwall fan. Couldn't believe everything I saw, and became a regular thereafter. So on and off, subject to life's ups and downs. 52 years later, I'm still going. So incredible, really, isn't it, when you stop and think about it? So it's a lifetime. But that's how it started
That's
52
dedication, mate. That's dedication.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I sometimes find when you stop and think about it. I know this is a football show, and we all follow the club, and we all live and die on the results. But when you actually stop and think about it, it's totally irrational what we do. You know, we follow a club. We define ourselves by the actions of a group of players that we have no control over. No, we can shout and bellow and bring some influence to bear, but it's quite an odd thing to do. You know, there's no other business like it where you can be treated with utter disdain sometimes by those that run it, and you keep going back. You know, if a pub treated you like you were checking into Wandsworth Prison every single time you went to get a beer, you wouldn't go back to that pub, would you? But with football, it's an emotional. You create an emotional relationship with the club, and I'm not going to go anywhere else now. So here I am. They got me for the rest of my life.
It is such a weird thing, isn't it? It's like almost like a cult thing. It's so.
It is.
And I genuinely don't think there's another sport like it in terms of just the pure emotion and passion that it evokes from those that follow. And you know, one of the other ways in which you've shown your passion and dedication to the club that you love is obviously a lot more than just turning up at games. You've been involved in all sorts over the years to support the club, and one of the things, of course, that you do is, you know, the OG podcast, if you like, the Achtung Millwall. So,
Achtung Millwall, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, Nick, and you know, I'd love to know where it started, what made you think of starting it, the name. Just would love to know a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, during the 1980s, football, when I started going in the 70s, and we had fans on the terracing, and you got your news and your comments, so to speak, from what would now be called mainstream media. I hate the term, but it's newspapers and to some level TV and some level radio. There wasn't much. You know, your main source for Millwall news would have been the likes of the South London Press, or the Mercury. That was about it. During the 1980s, the arose in the wake of the whole kind of punk rock movement in the late 70s. People started making fanzines, football fanzines, which were home-produced magazines, I suppose you'd call them, written by fans. And I was a huge fan of a fanzine called The Lion Roars, which I think has faded away a little bit now, but it was my fanzine of choice. We were lucky at the Den that we had The Lion Roars, we had No One Likes Us, and there'd been a few others on occasions that come and go. But my fanzine was always The Lion Roars. It had a nice kind of balance of humour and passion, or another word that I always find a bit of an odd one, but passion for the club. And I did a few bits and pieces wrote a few articles, for No One Likes Us fanzine, which was always famously still a quid. So basically I got into writing stuff for No One Likes Us. Never The Lion Roars, strangely, but anyway. So, you know, as the 80s and the 90s moved along, you gradually this thing got invented called the internet, which when it first began, I can remember it, the first time I ever saw it. I thought, what's this called? What's the internet? What is it? Who's going to use that? What's that going to be for? You know, and I remember seeing the Millwall Club website, and it would be in the late 1990s, and I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, but I don't know what you do with it, you know. Anyway, on we go. Fanzines. To make a fanzine is a lot of hard work. You have to write it. You have to, if you enjoy this kind of thing, it's probably not hard work, but you have to kind of make you do the kind of layout online.
It takes time though, Nick, doesn't it? Regardless of whether you enjoy it or not.
Time. And then you have to get it printed, Chris, and you've got to physically carry 200 printed A5 size, in our case, pamphlets that you're hopefully going to sell to people, hopefully, because there's no guarantee that anyone's going to buy this thing off you. And then, you know, it was physically quite a lot of work, which I think that often you find with even doing stuff like this, for example. I think people consume it, they watch it, and they listen to now the podcasts, for example. But they don't really have any sense how much effort and time and sheer emotional input goes into creating this stuff. It's almost like, oh yeah, I watched that show and it's shit, I don't like it. Or this one, I love him, he's brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But whatever you do, I take my hat off to anyone that does anything, because A, you don't have to do it, and secondly, there's a lot of creative effort that goes into it. And also with the paper magazines, there was physical effort. So anyway, I was doing it. No One Likes Us got to a stage where it was going to fold up and stop. And I thought, this was in the kind of late 90s, 2000s, something like that. And I thought it's a shame, because they're part and parcel of the Mill scene. Like the Lion Roars and No One Likes Us, the two fanzines. Of course, now when we look back, we realise that the age of the paper magazine was dying. You know, you see it everywhere. Go to a petrol station. Once upon a time, you had a stack of newspapers outside the shop as you walked in to pay for your petrol. Now, I don't think they even bother with it anymore. So you see it everywhere, but at the time it wasn't apparent. So I took over running No One Likes Us. That morphed into something that I called I Left My Heart at Coldblow Lane. That was the second version of it. As I say, it was hard work. Then, to answer your question, long-winded route to answer your question, I got contacted by a character by the name of Ant Meads. Many people will probably, some might even have a sharp intake of breath when I say his name. But he was wanting to do interviews with people for a thing called a podcast, and I'd never heard of what a podcast was. I didn't know. He explained it like a radio show, only you listen to it via the internet. And I thought, okay, that sounded interesting. So we did like an interview, doing interviews with various people, including me as this fanzine editor. And there was I used to go on the web, House of Fun and places like that. So I suppose people knew my name a little bit. So we did this interview, a bit like what we're doing now, only a much less sophisticated version of this. I think we used Zoom or something like that, which again was a thing I hadn't heard of. No, it was Skype. It was Skype. We used
Skype. Yes, I remember that.
Skype was like a telephone kind of arrangement that you could record it. All new stuff to me. I'd never come across that kind of thing before. So we did the interview, a bit like what we're doing now. And he said, well, that went well afterwards, Nick. Do you fancy doing a regular post-match conversation by Skype that he record and then post it on these podcast providers? I thought, well, I know nothing of any of this, you know. So anyway, we got into doing like a Sunday morning conversation. Hopefully after we'd seen the game. Sometimes we hadn't seen the game because there was no TV coverage on the same scale as you get now.
Yeah.
So you'd have to try and blag your way through a conversation for about 20 minutes about you know, what may or may not have happened in the game. And that lasted for so long. I'll leave Ant Meads there. And then when that show finished, I thought, well, actually, I quite enjoyed doing this. It's a lot less effort, Chris, than lugging half a ton of paper to the den. I'd never get away with it now. It'd be all in the bag drop outside now, because often you finish up with unsold magazines where you might print 100 and only sell 30 or something. So you finish up with a load of, you know, potential wasted paper. And then you finish up, back then, another thing from the past, cash, you finish up with a bulging coin bag, which you have to kind of...
Shows you how times have changed, doesn't it? Like, you just,
coins. I mean, and you would people would come up to you with a £20 note to buy a £2 magazine off you. You know, all your float would go in one go. You know, and you'd walk around with this like half a ton of metal, of coin metal in your pouch thing, that you market trader's pouch I had. And then you'd have to lug along to the bank to change it all up put it into little bags and pay it into your bank account. So anyway, digressed. It just struck me as a lot less effort. You could talk for half an hour, edit it on software that it dawned on me was actually on the Apple computer. We've got a thing called GarageBand. I don't know what you use, but I've got GarageBand. It's on there already. I didn't know that. I'd never used it. and you could make these sound files and you could post it onto a podcast provider. I thought, yeah, this is pretty good, isn't it? You could do this, you know. It indulges your ego a little bit, you know, makes you feel like you're just like Roy Keane or some pundit off the telly, you know. And people seem to listen to it, which struck me as amazing. Because I thought, well, you know, if you get like maybe 20 or 30 people listening to it, you've probably done pretty well there.
Yeah.
And then you get hundreds of people, and it takes off. I mean, social media helps, obviously, and it kind of acquires. It's like something rolling down the hill. It gets quicker and quicker and quicker as it goes along. But that's how it started. Basically, I'd never heard of it before, and then you find out actually that talking into a microphone is something you enjoy doing. Yeah, there we are. So yeah,
where did the name come from, Nick?
Achtung Millwall.
Yeah.
Well, two things really. In places like Cold War Germany, you had like a death's head symbol with Achtung mines. You had mined areas. You know, you could. So the Berlin Wall would have Achtung Minen, and I thought that was a cool looking sign. Not cool to have mines that will kill you, but Achtung Minen. I thought it always struck me as a bit like Achtung Millwall. You know. And then, so that always stuck in my head, Achtung Minen, death's head symbol. And then don't go there, you know, there's places you can't go to. So I always thought it had like an affinity with the image of Millwall. Achtung Millwall seemed to me to be like a cool derivation of that. And then there was also an album by U2. They had an album called Achtung Baby, which I quite liked. You're not supposed to like U2 anymore. They're apparently they've become an uncool band to like, but I thought they were pretty good in their day. And I like the title Achtung Baby. So I've combined Achtung Meinen, Mines ahead, watch out, blow your leg off, with Achtung Baby. I thought that would make a cool name for initially I thought it might make a good fanzine name, Achtung Millwall. Yeah. I borrowed it for the fanzine style podcast, which is how I've tried to approach it. We used to give our money away to charity from No One Likes Us, and then the Cold Blow Lane magazine, CBL. I thought, well, that's a good way to do it. You're doing some good with your self-indulgence. So we carried on doing that with the podcast, advertising money, and we give it now we're giving it to the food. I see on your little caption that you got cancer research, so well done you for the same reason. That's how it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, just to go back, I believe yesterday you also donated more money for the start.
Yeah, we get advertising money. The adverts pay for it. When I first started, we used a platform called Podomatic, and you had to subscribe to it. You had to pay. So I treated it like a hobby. You know, you paid to. They would carry your podcast with no adverts, obviously. You paid them. But then the scene changed when I used to use Acast, and they said to me that they would carry it for nothing. I thought, this is a revelation, that you just put your thing out there for nothing, basically, and in return they carry a few adverts. I thought, that's not a bad deal, you know. I don't pay anymore. For a few adverts, they will put your show out for nothing, effectively. And then it turned out actually there was a profit, and they would pay you. Oh, this is incredible. Yep. This whole concept is incredible, that you can sit and talk into your iPhone or you're onto your computer, your laptop, and someone else will pay you money for adverts. So I thought, well, a bit like what I used to do I used to treat the fanzine that it wasn't my production, really. I did a large chunk of it, but I would get other people to write articles. So if you're asking other people to write something for you, it's not really yours. You're not paying them for their work. The concept is that they're giving it to you for nothing. So you should do something of public good with that content. And I thought actually that's not a bad approach to take with the podcast. I don't begrudge anyone that wants to go into vlogging and podcasting and all the rest of the modern world that you see now with the intention of trying to make some money for themselves. It's a very different approach. I don't think you get rich other than if you need to follow someone else other than Millwall to get rich.
Yeah, it's not
vlogging, Chris. No. You need to be AFTV or the Anfield Rap or one of that European global level much as we love our dear little Millwall, we're never going to get to that stage. So you won't make a fortune. I mean, we get £100 or so every couple of months off of it was Acast, it's now Sports Social.
Yeah.
Which again, as we said already, we give to the food hubs. I just think it's nice to give to a Millwall based charity, and that's as good a one as I've seen. But so that's how it panned out. I found that it was a lot easier to talk into an iPhone than it was to type and slave over a computer for hours writing an article and then print it all up as a fanzine.
You're just being efficient. That's all.
I'm being lazy. I'm being lazy, Chris.
Let's use the word efficient. Sounds better.
Efficient. Efficient. If you want one word that underpins my whole life, it's probably lazy. Trying to do things for less, So yeah, that's how it got. I don't know how I would have got on with selling the fanzine now, because people would have brandished their card at me. I mean, they'd have a card reader or something now.
Card reader, yeah.
Not a bulging market trader's pouch, with coins stuck in it. Different times. So yeah, that's how it's got on. I mean, it slightly amazed me really that people listen to the show initially. I've been doing it about 10 years now. It started in, I think I was doing the Ant Meads thing in about 2012ish. I'd have to check the dates. And then it turned into Achtung Millwall from probably about 2013 onwards. So it's been going for 10, 11 years. I suppose it's quite an eccentric thing to do, and I think probably deep down I feel like an eccentric, because I'm standing in the stadium speaking into my mobile phone whilst people look at me wondering who this bloke is.
What is he doing?
Talking to himself in a corner of block one. There was a bunch of guys in yesterday, I think those Europeans, looking at me as though I was some kind of MI5, MI6 plant, reporting on everything I see around me. It can be a bit. I don't mind doing it. It don't bother me now. It was a bit odd at first to do it, but you have to. It's like one of these disciplines, Chris. I don't know how you get on with public speaking or something, but I find it quite useful to force yourself to do something that you're uncomfortable with. You're making yourself speak in public, in the sense. So to do that, I found it quite useful. Actually, I used to struggle with it a little bit. It can be a bit of a performance going away from home, because I think now at the Den I'm kind of known and tolerated, whereas away from home you're looking over your shoulder. Stewards don't like you. I think they think you're in some kind of gambling, Asian gambling ring or something, reporting live or doing some kind of live streaming or something, that you shouldn't be doing. So you have to be a bit more surreptitious away from home than you are at the Den. But yeah, there we are.
No, it's fascinating, Nick, and I think you started this, and then as Millwall fans, we're very fortunate to have a number of good content outlets to listen to, right?
Absolutely,
it's
really grown recent years, Chris. It's grown, yourself included, but others, Mickey's show, Dan, Lions TV. There's loads now, and I take my hat off to everyone that does stuff, because that's as it should be. And not everyone's going to love you, Sometimes you might do something and you get slaughtered for it online. But you got to do what you think is, or you got to say what you think is right, and you got to do what you think is right. And if people like it, they'll listen to you. If they don't like it, well, don't listen to them. Don't watch them or don't listen to them. That's a simple answer. No one puts a gun to your head and says, listen to Nick Hart waffling on about 1973 or something.
Mate, you're spot on, and I think something that you said to me when I told you over the summer I was thinking of creating my own show. I had no real. The post-match reactions, my bread and butter. That's all I've ever done. And that was my intent. And then obviously organically things grow. And I remember asking you any tips, and I think one thing you said to me that stuck with me was just make a show that you would listen to, and the rest kind of follows.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only rule. The only rule. Would you listen to this? If you would, then you're there, aren't you? If you wouldn't, probably not. You've got to do two things, Chris. I'd say this to anyone watching this that thinks, "Oh, I might have a go at that, because if that bloke can do it, look at the state of him. I might have a go at it." You've got to do two things. You've got to be yourself. Ain't no good trying to be some kind of internet influencer. Like they're all much of a they all seem to be like the same nowadays. You know, you got to be yourself. You got to be prepared to laugh at yourself and laugh at the humour of Millwall is something I always wanted to try and capture, because that's really underpins everything in my opinion at the Den. And you can't take yourself too seriously, because you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to break it to your kids, but you're not on Sky TV and you're not Roy Keane. You're not Gary Neville, really. You know, you are just talking about Millwall at the end of the day. Do whatever you want to do. Say it how you want to say it. Make it authentic, and try and keep a sense of humour. That's my tip to everybody. That's how I've tried to do it anyway. Hopefully, people like it. Yeah.
Well, you've built enough of a following, mate. So I think they do. And one of the things you just said as well that really I've found doing this is people actually listen to it. Like
I find that really weird.
I find that really odd. That like my dad says to me, he was like, "Wait a minute, over 1,000 people listen to you." I was like, "Yes, believe it or not," and I still don't know, but I quite like that, because I will always remain humble, whether one person listens to me or 50,000. It doesn't matter. Like it still blows my mind that people take, even if it's just 30 seconds of their day, to listen to. All it is an opinion. And
absolutely.
I thank everyone that does, quite frankly.
No, I mean, like I said a little while ago, when I started doing it, I thought, if we get, if maybe 20 or 30 people listen to it, I think that's pretty good, But I find the two things amaze me. One is that you get like numbers you're talking about, thousands of downloads, and people waiting for it to come out. You get people contacting you. Oh, Achtung's a bit late. It's because I've been out on a Sunday with doing familial things. And I well remember I had an email once from somebody. I don't know who this. I can't remember this person is now, but he said, fantastic show. You and your team, my team, that's me in my front room, or in here, this is the spare room, the team, well, like it's like you're at the BBC or something, like a whole team of producers. No, it's me, it's it, I'm like one man band here, so it's quite strange. When I first started doing it, I bought a book. It was one of these for dummies series. It was podcasting for dummies. I know nothing about this whole area, so I thought I'll buy this book. They're generally pretty well laid out and they're written quite simply. And I always remember reading one line that's always stuck with me: is that you mustn't ever forget the power of speaking directly into somebody's ear. Like you got their earphones. They might be running, they might be driving, they might be whatever they're doing, walking about, going to work, on the train, whatever. The impact of your voice directly into their head via their headphones, it's actually quite a powerful medium. And I suppose over the years since, I don't take podcasting terribly seriously, but you do realise that people really do listen, like you just said. They do come back to you, differing opinions, you get all sorts of things, but it's never ceased. Although I know that you are speaking to somebody's ear, it's quite hard to keep it in the forefront of your mind, because people do take it quite seriously,
and they can pick up on it. So
obscurities.
Yeah, it was the Steve Morrison show that I did, and I've had a few people sort of, whether it's through message or whatever, coming up to me, and the things that they pull out from it are not the things that I would assume they would.
Right. No, I can get that. Yeah.
No, it's like, I forgot that even comment was made, and people can read into the most minute of things. Like it's a throwaway comment, and that's the thing that they'll hone in on. And I find that fascinating, to be honest. And it resonates with me, and so does just doing this generally, because the company I work for, I basically spend all day doing exactly this, but just in the form of obviously talking about a completely different topic. And fortunate enough to manage quite a large team. And at times when I'm briefing them or we're having a conversation, as a manager, you will say something and you got to get it right, because they could pick up on just that very small section that you've said.
Yeah.
And that will resonate with them, that will land, and they'll take that and they'll run with it. And it's not too dissimilar to this, isn't it?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not an expert in football. I mean, I'm just a fan sitting in the stand watching on. I see what I see, but I mean, I love the word you used the word transitions earlier on. I'd never heard of that word until Gary Rowett started using it. So there's a whole kind of raft of things that you think, oh, that's new to me. I don't know I'd look up what a transition is, later on when I get home. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just having the confidence and ability and willingness to put your head above the parapet. Not many people do that. A lot of people love to listen to somebody else putting their head above the parapet and then sniping at them. You've got to put that out of your head. You've got to say it how you see it.
Yeah.
And, if somebody else doesn't like it or you've become in some way unpopular with your friends, well, question who your friends are, I suppose, because if that's what it's going to take, they weren't very strong in the first place, were they? So no, I mean, I'd urge anyone out there, any kids watching this, to do stuff. Do decent stuff though. Don't do all this kind of TikTok nonsense I see everywhere. What I like about this show, to finish with a bit of praise for Chris here, is it's intelligent, and I think that's crucial. You want to watch something where you sit and listen to it and have a think, even if you don't agree with it, at least respect the fact there's been some kind of framework of thought gone into it. So hats off to you, mate.
Thank you, mate. And we will aspire to make this whatever it will be. I'm going to record my post match directly after we've had the conversation.
You'll be exhausted after we've been on the phone with the recording. 55 minutes there, you'll be shattered.
I know. Well, the missus is probably doing a nutting, but I do want to ask you another question though. So, you obviously talking sort of your podcast timeline, if you like, and you've been doing this now for sort of 10 plus years in various
ish, yeah.
And recently, you have started working with the club directly on their official podcast, Wall Talk. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, that arose in the summertime. Obviously, the Wall Talk was a good show, and I take my hat off to the club for producing it. It was Max, it was Mark Litchfield, and historically Paul Jiggins, who passed away. He was an experienced Sun journalist and brought a certain, I'm going to use the word Millwallness to the show. They replaced Jiggins with Byron Webster after he tragically passed away, and Byron again played for the club. He's a figure in club's history. But I think now that Max is not able to put as much time into it, they were looking for somebody to maybe, I don't want to say step into Jiggins' shoes, but someone that stretches back further than just more recent times at the Den. So I was asked if I would help out, and I don't mind at all. I mean, it's a good show. It's primarily an interview-based show, and not opinion-based. I mean, as you do this, Chris, and all the other podcasts that we've got around are effectively opinion-based. It's that one person's view on what they see. Achtung Millwall was me sitting there waffling into my microphone. Do I like SA there? Do I like a market? All that kind of thing. Something like Wall Talk is a different show in that it can't be an opinion-based show in the same way because it's a club official product. So you've got to be a bit more circumspect in when you're doing that. And it's an interview-based show. So you're often speaking to ex-players, some of whom are good value and will talk and will give you excellent content without too much input. Some are less voluble. They don't. You have to try and make it happen a little bit as an interviewer. I mean, you've done a few yourself. It's quite an art form to interview somebody. It's not easy, and I know in experience of it. So, having done a few, you every one that you do is always there's a bit of an angst beforehand as to how it's going to go. You don't really know what you're going to get back. But anyway, going back to Wall Talk, they asked if I would come in because I just, we said on this show, I started going in 1972, so I can mention Alex Ray. I can talk about Cascarino showing him up front. I'd stood on the terracing when Jimmy Carter was running down the wing. It just gives you a bit more. You have a bit more of an angle on stuff that might crop up in a conversation. It gives it more depth, I suppose, and that's really how I see my input. It's not my show; it's the club's show. Mark finds the guests, and I'm hoping we're going to get another one soon. I'm looking forward to it. If it's, depending on who they come up with, but it's more of an interview-based approach, which hopefully gives you entertaining and funny on occasions and interesting insights into the recent times at the Den. That's what I'm hoping that I can bring to it anyway. It's a different thing to Achtung. It can't be the same, I do intend to carry on doing Achtung as I ever did it, because how I do Achtung, like how you do chats with chaps, it's who you are, it's what you do. That's it. That's me. So I'm going to carry on doing that. And with Wall Talk, it's a slightly more what's the word? It's not straight laced. It's just you have the parameters within which you're trying to work there. You can't be free and easy in the same way as you can with Achtung.
It's also like Wall Talk. I guess it's as and when the guest is available.
It's
everyone
occasional.
It's not every week. It's not, because that's the other thing as well. Like when I was setting this up, I was like, can I genuinely commit to doing at least one show a week? And at the moment, yes, but circumstances can change, right? And kudos
Absolutely.
to you, Nick, for being able to sustain that through the highs and lows of life that it brings. For the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, it's a big. I mean, it's a hobby. I regard it as a hobby, and the essence of any hobby is that if you need to stop, you stop. You never sign a contract with the listening public that you will produce a show for their. They're not
you
paying
get a few emails, Nick, if you stopped.
People do talk to you like you have got some kind of formal arrangement, but there is no obligation to produce content. I mean, I think the moment that I would ever stop would be when I don't enjoy it, or if listeners will tell me if I start to waffle or start to sound like I'm losing my marbles, I'm getting too old for it. To tell me, I want to hear the feedback, because that's the time I think, well, it might be time to knock it on the head now. After so many years. No, I mean, you fit it in around your life. I'm lucky. I can do it. I enjoy doing it. Sitting on a Sunday morning like we're doing now, talking is no problem for me. But you can't always do that. Sometimes other things get in the way of it. So but you do get some saucy emails when you haven't produced a show till Sunday's show hasn't come out till Wednesday or something, and people are saying, where is it?
Yeah, how dare you?
like you're an employee,
Yeah, that's my Monday morning brewing.
Your KPI has fallen short, Chapman. Consider yourself reprimanded.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm not there yet. I mean, we're at 750 subscribers on YouTube. We are. I think we're probably 1 or 2 shows away from being able to monetize, which, you've alluded to this before. Surprise, surprise. The way that podcasts can make any money is through monetizing, through advertising revenue.
Yeah, that's how it works. Like it or not, that's how it works. Yeah.
So if you do hear adverts on this, that the reason is because we're trying to make money. And Nick, obviously you've given the money that you have made to Lions Food Hub, and for this year it will change for me every single year. But for this year, due to things that have happened in my life in the last couple of years and things like that, I felt that Cancer Research UK was the right one that I wanted to go with, and that's what we're doing. And we might change it from year to year. But if you can, I think to summarise, I think we look at it very similar. If let's be honest, we don't do this because we get nothing out of it. We do it because we enjoy it.
You enjoy it, and you get a buzz out of it.
100%.
I'm doing the show yesterday when I was listening back last night. I was doing it. My wife is like the podcast widow now. She's saying, "Are you in the spare room doing your editing?" Yes, I am.
I think my missus is saying the exact same thing right now next door. She's like, "Come on, I've got to go shopping later."
It'll be grounds for divorce at some stage, I'm sure.
We've been married a year, Nick. Give me time.
But no, of course you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, there's no point. Who does anything they don't enjoy? It's purposeless. So, I get a lot out of it. The interaction with people. I mean, you're I'm sure the same. When you get fans of the show and they interact with you, the voice note show that I get people to do now is fantastic. You get all sorts of characters, people you wouldn't otherwise have met, and you know, there's no shortage of characters down the den, and it's just wonderful to interact with them. So I think that's what I get out of it, is that sense that people enjoy it, listen to it, and want to tell you they enjoy it in some form or another. And every voice note I get is in the sense somebody saying I enjoy doing this and I want to be part of it. So that's really nice. So,
and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome, Chris.
I really do appreciate it. Great conversation with you as always.
Absolutely, mate.
For those of you that are listening to this that haven't subscribed or downloaded any of Nick's episodes, please do go and check them out.
What have you been doing with yourselves?
Yeah, what have you been doing this for the last 10 years? Get off my show and listen to Nick, all right? But no, wherever you are, enjoy I reckon I'll put this one out, Nick, probably Monday or Tuesday. So they'll get that then. And enjoy your week. And as always, thank you very much for listening, because without you listening, we ultimately wouldn't be doing it. So thank you. And bye for now.
Bye for now. Arrivederci, Millwall.
Arrivederci.